Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the today workshop in Watson Analytics. As many of you know, we have been holding these meetups for a year and a half, trying to get the community around the people who are local to get to this new, let's say, tool available for data science and business analytics. So today's presentation is going to be focused on the predictive capability of Watson Analytics. Of course, we will do a very, let's say, a little intense introduction to Watson Analytics in order for 2 hours to get hands-on on what are the capabilities and what you can do. This is just to open your vision about what you will be able to do with this tool in the area of expertise you have in the area you are working. Today's presentation will have 3 parts. The first part is professor from the Master of Science in Data Analytics, Steve Knott, is going to present the overview of what is Watson Analytics as an analytical tool. Then Elena Batinskaya, who is a teaching assistant in the Master of Science of Data Analytics, she will do, let's say, hands-on walkthrough to the tool, what are the features, the different features, how to use them. And we've been with Watson Analytics for more than a year. This year, we decided to participate in something which is going to happen for second time. There is a global Watson Analytics competition. Global means the whole world from all continents, Asia, Africa, America, South America, Europe. They will be team from different universities presenting a project. This year, the topic is environmental. So we have a team who is working on this to present their work, and they will give you just to click on different, let's say, capability of Watson Analytics. They will give you a very short presentation what they are doing for this competition. So these are the 3 parts. I hope everyone already have signed up for the free Watson Analytics 30-day free Watson Analytics access. The product is actually in the cloud. You get access through your email, and you get access in the browser. Now, if you are associated with any of the program in the graduate school, most of the program we already are with Watson Analytics professional account for the program, for the department. And if you are active student, even though you are not in the class which are using this email, you can get access, which is almost unlimited, is for the duration of the program to Watson Analytics Professional and do work. This is in addition. With no more, I would like just to get started and give the word to Professor Steve Knott. Yes, the recording is going on. Oh, just a second. For the people who are WebEx, please post your question in the chat in the QA session. I will be monitoring. I don't know, since the main setting of the workshop is face-to-face, maybe we are not going to get your answer as soon as you expect, but we will be answering them. Okay? So everyone in WebEx is in mute. You can communicate only typing in the chat in the QA section. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gorcheva. And of course, I'm going to do a short little intro and overview of why we even have such a program as Watson Analytics. And then Elena's going to walk you through it like we talked about. So here's the agenda, a little bit of a background. In other words, why do we even need a program like this, and what does it do, and why is it kind of an interesting thing? Okay, what is it? Well, I like the term that I've heard several places use lately called citizen data scientists. You know, it turns out that a lot of functional people in organizations have a need for analytics, but they don't always have access to data scientists, and they don't always have projects that are worth pushing to the data scientists, who are scarce and usually very busy people. So the need is for them to be able to do something themselves. And so IBM came out with this program called Watson Analytics about a year and a half ago, a little bit more than that. And it's designed for the business user who wants to do some analytics for him or herself. So I find it very fascinating because that expands the use of it. And then those people can say, well, I need a little more help and maybe go to the data scientists for other stuff. It's got a very code-free interface. If you're going to have something used by functional people, you need to have something that's easy to use, easy to learn, and yet very powerful, and that's what we have. It has the ability to process requests in natural language. You know, Watson Analytics, many of you have heard of the term Watson, which was a program that was in Jeopardy and is used in many banks and many hospitals and everything. It's become a worldwide phenomenon. Well, Watson Analytics has a piece of Watson in it. It has the natural language piece. So that means when it sees your data set, it automatically generates some rather interesting and insightful questions that you ought to be thinking about when you look at that data set, which I find fascinating. It also has some machine learning algorithms built in. So you can build some cursory models. You can get started building some predictive models if that's important to you. So it has a lot of very nice features built in. Again, why was it needed? Well, as I said, many mid-sized companies just don't have the wherewithal to afford to have a whole fleet of data scientists standing around waiting to do analytics. It takes time, it takes money, and it's usually saved for very large, expensive kind of analytics programs. So this is a way for any functional manager or person to just sort of get into it themselves and to a certain degree do what they need to do. So the large organizations that have this are finding that this is a good way to accelerate the time and the value. You can parcel out some of these smaller projects right to the functional area people themselves. And it gives them some power. The more you use analytics, I think the more you become accustomed to seeing the value of it. You know, it's always, everybody's hot on the term analytics, but until they actually do something, they really don't learn to appreciate the value and the insights you can gain from looking at your data. It unburdens, as I said, the internal data teams, and again, speeds up the analysis. Now, the program itself has several versions. It has a free version, which you can use for 30 days for free, and I think those of you who signed up for that already have that going. And then there's a plus version and a professional version. We're very fortunate in that in our MSDA program, our Master of Science in Data Analytics, where we're using the professional version. So we have all of the features, and that's really a nice thing to have from IBM. As I said, it was introduced in late 2014, and within just a few months, it had over 500,000 users. I don't know how many it has now, but certainly many more than that. And as you'll see, some very serious users when we get to some of the case studies. You access it in the cloud, which is another big advantage. We're trying to convince everyone in our program the cloud is the future, and I think most of you realize that frees up having to have a large infrastructure, frees you up from having to have a lot of expensive equipment, and so you can access this directly and do access this directly from the IBM servers in the cloud. Now, exactly what do you do with this? Well, it has three major pieces, the 3 Ds, as Yelena calls them: data, discovery, display, okay? Data, discovery, display. And you can see in each of these you can do things. What do you do in data? Well, first of all, you got to have some data. So you want to be able to load your data, shape your data, join data sets together, refine your data to a degree, get it so it looks good and it's not messy. Then what can you do with it? Well, now the discover part is the key part. You go in and you look for insights. And again, some of this is facilitated automatically by the natural language interface, which formulates these questions, which you can amend and change, but they're very interesting. So you can add some data groups, you can create hierarchies, you can refine your data, you can create some simple models, predictive models right away without learning anything about coding, without just a few hours or even less time spent with the program. Finally, of course, you have to display what you found. You'd like to show that to people. Sometimes it's your bosses, sometimes it's your coworkers, your teams, people on your teams. So you want to be able to put together displays that are very insightful and basically tell a story. We're a big believer in that you have to frame the problem, solve the problem, and then sell the answer. Kind of the 3 big pieces to the whole program. And so you want to be able to create some very interesting, and very useful, and very insightful displays that can walk you through a story. Here's what my data came as. Here are some insights that I found. Here are some implications from those insights. And so you can actually create like a dashboard, only something even more active than that. And you'll see that when Yelena walks you through it. So, use cases. She's going to give you, I think, links in her slides to many, many use cases. I just pulled a few of them out. But these are real-world companies that are using Watson Analytics already. And I think that helps. It helps to look at things where people are actually using something in the real world for a real problem, whether it's a help desk, whether it's analyzing customer campaigns, brand analysis, customer service rep performance. If you go look at any of these links, you will see a real company that has used Watson Analytics to help solve a real problem. And I think that's extremely important. Most of the time when you're trying to introduce a new program in your organization, someone will say, well, who's using it? What's it cost? What's it do? Well, that's the three pieces I've tried to give you a little overview of. You see what it does, and if you go look at these use cases, you'll see people and real companies that are using it to actually effect change. Some other ones: sales, win-loss analysis, supplier delays, sales effectiveness. No matter what business you're in, I think if you look at the use cases that are out there, you're going to find one that is somewhere in the genre that you're in, something of interest to you, where you can say, let me go look at what they did. Maybe I can use something like that in my organization. So there are many, many more use cases than what I have on these couple of slides. And there's a website, a link where you can go and get access to all of the use cases out there. So it's very important to be able to see what others are doing with this. Additional materials, well, there's so many additional materials out there, it's overwhelming. First of all, Watson Analytics has its own web page on YouTube. And so you'll go there and you'll see dozens of videos, how-to videos, all about Watson videos, tutorials, use cases, everything. The guide to the sample data sets. If you want to get some data sets and start playing with it, well, these are nice, relatively clean data sets ready to go, so you don't have to worry too much about fixing missing cases or missing variables, and you can take those and get right into learning it. There's also the use cases, as I mentioned, and then this last one is extremely valuable. The community. It's a very, very, very active community. If you want to know something, you go there first. You ask a question. If you don't see something that answers your question, and within a very short period of time, there'll be people posting solutions, suggestions, ideas, answers. So that's also very good. So this makes it a very useful program that we use in our first course in the MSDA program, and then later on we use it again in one of the later courses. So getting started, I think this is a little bit of a review, but again, you can go and sign up for your free account, which is good for 30 days. And then the thing you would want to do is probably go to Big Data University. That's an IBM site where they have courses in various things for free. And one of those courses is Watson 101. It's about a 4-hour course. We have all of our students in Data 610 take and pass that course so that they learn a lot about Watson. It walks you through all of the features of Watson, or most of the features of Watson. And it has some exercises and things, so if you go through that course at your own pace, it's a canned course ready to go for free. You will learn quite a bit about Watson Analytics and be ready to start off on your venture for yourself. So that's kind of the end of what I wanted to say. And now I'm going to turn it over to Yelena. Oh, actually, we're going to do a... Well, I hit. We're actually going to let our competition team say a few words first.
And I have their slides up here.
We have a competition team, as Dr. Gorcheva mentioned, participating in the worldwide competition that IBM is running with Watson Analytics. This is the second year for that. We have Scott Anderson and Vivian Hunsley, two members of the team here tonight, and they're going to say a few words about that.
Is this live as well?
Yes.
Maybe that'd be easier instead of passing back. Good evening, everyone. My name is Scott Anderson. This is Vivian Hunsley. We have one other member, Dave Stonehouse, who doesn't live locally, so he couldn't make it here today. So we wanted to talk a little bit about the competition and what we're doing for the competition. At the end of Data 650, Professor Gorchieva contacted us, I think matter of fact, it might have been at this meeting one semester ago, and asked if we would be interested in doing the competition. We knew nothing about the competition, but we thought it might be, kind of interesting to do. We were going into our last class. We thought we'd learn maybe a little bit more by doing the competition. So we thought we would give it a try. The competition itself, we have the link here if you're interested in the details about the competition itself. It is specific to environmental issues. So you're supposed to identify an environmental issue, find data, use Watson to come up with a particular solution around that environmental issue. So the competition itself is requiring of two things when we're done. We are going to have a report that is due, and that report is going to be, for those people who have seen Watson, is going to be a dashboard with commentary, predictive models inside of that. One of the things they wanted us to focus on was social media. So Vivian's done a lot of work with a social media kind of tool that's built into Watson. And we're also going to have to produce a video presentation. The solution itself, or the competition itself, completes at the end of March. So where our last class ended, I think it was the beginning of December, we pretty much started right then and there working on the competition. So we're about 6 weeks ahead of the rest of our class for Data 670. So a little bit about how we are working. None of us live close with each other, so we had to try to figure out how we were going to be communicating with each other. We started off by doing a teaming agreement and putting together a project plan to kind of scope out what we're going to do each week, and I think we've generally tried to follow along as best we can. From a communication standpoint, we needed to find a way to communicate better than just over the phone or email, so I had been using a product called Slack at work a lot, which is kind of an instant messenger. You can post things, you can post pictures. You'll see when people are online, you can have a communication with them if you see other team members online. So we've used that quite a bit. We set up a Google Drive. We've been posting documents, posting data, posting everything under the sun on that Google Drive. For those people who have Watson, typically you have your own little area. We had Yelena stand up kind of areas where we could post things and everyone on our team could see it so that we can interact through Watson. We've been meeting twice a week, every Saturday morning and now Tuesday evening, and we probably spend like 3 hours a day each time we meet going over what we're working on. Professor Canode, who was just speaking before, is our academic advisor, so he usually will chime in on Saturdays, spend about an hour with us just talking about what we're doing, see if he thinks we're on the right path, bounce some ideas off him. And one of the issues we've kind of run into a little bit is we're following the Chris DM model for class, but Watson really has kind of a slightly different process. So in some ways, we think we're doing almost twice the work. We're doing the school work, but we're doing the competition work. And even though they're similar in content, it's quite a bit of work trying to get this competition complete. So our particular environmental idea revolves around sea level rise. One of the things that we did is we chose sea level rise fairly early in December. We decided sea level rise, and we've spent months looking for data so that we can even get it into Watson. So spent a lot of time just trying to find data to support different ideas we have about sea level rise. So looking at the problem, I used several lenses. I got that from Dr. Canode, and I've been using it ever since. We're looking at it at different areas. When we started the competition, I really wanted to do something locally, but we also wanted to have a global flavor, and sea level rise does that. So each of us have kind of focused on different areas. Vivian, besides the social media, has been looking kind of globally. I've been focusing on the Chesapeake Bay, and then Dave has been looking at Bangladesh. And some of the areas we're looking at are sea level rise change, up and down, flooding, a change in salinity. There's also change in habitats and things like that are things we're looking at. From a business understanding standpoint, there are several reasons for global sea level rise, but the two biggies are thermal expansion, where the heat of the Earth makes the water expand and thus the sea increases, as well as the melting of ice, glaciers, ice sheets, things like that. A lot of the impacts we're looking at are flooding, the loss of habitat or wetlands, saltwater intrusion, just damage from weather events, beach erosion, loss of property. And now I'm going to turn it over to Vivian, and she'll start with data sources.
Thanks, Scott. So we've gone to many, many different places. The data.gov site that's available from the U.S. Various agencies was a great source, and then there's another source called the World Bank Data Bank. And then Scott's also been doing a lot with the Chesapeake Bay program and Maryland.gov data. So we've pulled in information from all these different places that have different pieces of the puzzle and answers to questions about sea level rise and the impacts to it. But one of the things I wanted to talk about, and I don't know if Yelena or any of the other classes go into this, but is the Watson Analytics social media tool, which you can sign up for with your free 30-day subscription as well. And it allows you to do a topic search. So like if you have 3 restaurants that you want to know more about how they compare to each other, you can type in, this is a use case that's on the website. But you type in the 3 restaurant names, and then it goes and it searches, and it gives you recommendations, suggestions for how you can narrow down your search. So we've been using it to find out information about what people are saying about sea level rise and in the particular areas that we're interested in. So you identify your topic, you narrow your search by looking at the suggestions, and then the next step is you create themes. So if there's different kind of topics within the topic that you're interested in, you can it'll organize your responses, some of your data by those themes, but it doesn't actually become a search criteria. So that's the difference between a topic and a theme. You also can specify the language that you're interested in. So if you only want English language or Spanish or whatever, you can say that. And all along while you're typing in this information, it's narrowing down the field, and it's telling you how many data sets it's going to search. And then you can also identify the date range that you're interested in and the sources you're interested in searching. And so they search Twitter, they search news forums, blogs, review sites, and they've just added Facebook pages as well. So it's very interesting. It comes back with a bunch of default views for you. I've only provided one here. It tells you how many documents it searched and the mentions that it found on your topic. And then it also, the first graph that comes up is all of your topics on a timeline displayed. In this case, I only had one topic, so you only see one line. But each part of that drop-down that I show up here are the different views that you can get by default. When you're done with this, it builds a data set that has all kinds of information about the mentions and the news feeds and all of that. So it becomes a very rich source of information to run further analysis within Watson. So one of the things we've done is there's a display type called a Storybook. And so this way you can bring all of your different displays together into one view. So this is kind of our first prototype of our sea level change portal. You can add graphics and other features to it. So here we have 5 different kind of dashboards that people can dig into and learn about sea level rise. And that's a really cool feature. We're just now tapping into it. The other thing is there's that ask a question area. There's a tab where you can go in and type a question. It'll search the data sets that are there, and it'll give you recommendations from those data sets on the question that you ask. So, Scott covered all the things about what we've been doing so far, but really our lessons learned have been, working as a team, you got to have a lot of, openness, and you have to have communication tools to make it work. The competition rubric is very open and kind of free, so we have to be creative and thoughtful and also try to get a focus that helps us stay on task. We're using social media, and also we're able to link this to our IBM Bluemix environment, which is in the cloud as well. So that helps us tie all of our little pieces together. And one of the things is we never knew anything about sea level change, so now we have a whole new understanding of that problem. And working as a group, we've gotten to know each other pretty well, and it's worked out nicely. And we really appreciate our coaches' support and the university's support on us getting through this event. So I'll turn it over to Yelena now. Let's get questions. Right? Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I speak loud, so do I need a microphone? Yeah, you need a microphone. Oh, this one. All right. So here is the, guys, can you hear me? Oh, all right. That's a mic, okay. How do I see? Oh, okay. Okay, but you have to stay here. Yes, I'm gonna stay here. I'll have to stay here because I'll be showing the screen. All right, so we were talking about the 3Ds, right? Here it is, data, discover, display, right? It's a workflow. The first step is to collect our data, right? Import data. Then we're gonna do some models, build some models, and then we go into present, right? So there is more than one way to get the data. So if I click here, new data, Watson Analytics, they provide you some sample data sources that are ready to use. All you need to do is select the data you're interested in and click import. That's easy, isn't it? Another way to get your data is a local file. And basically what you need to do is you have the Windows Explorer window open. You just drag and drop the file into this area. And then the import button will become active. You just click import. I'm not going to do it right now because of the bandwidth. But instead what we're going to do is we're going to use the data set that I already imported. The data set is called the student retention data. So basically I want to predict the student retention rate, and I want to see what is the actual driver, what's the actual factors that determine the student retention rate at the university, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at the data. And to do that, we need to click on this ellipsis. It opens up the menu. Now I'll have to select the refine. And now it's going to take some time. Here is my data, right? Over here I have the variable names, and here are the actual data. So if I was importing my data from Microsoft Excel, this would have been the first data row, right, with the column headers, and here would be the remaining rows with my data. The reason it's called the refine is because from here I can decide to hide certain columns, right? Like, for example, suppose that I don't want to see somebody's citizenship, right? I have a department where I don't want this information to be visible to. I can hide the column and save a separate copy, right, of my data with this column removed. So if you click here, over here, there are options to check and uncheck the columns, the fields that you want to be visible, right? So you know it's here. What you also could do is you can add new fields, and you can add them as calculation. Like, for example, suppose that I had, here is the overall GPA. And for example, suppose that I'm nice and I want to add 0.1 to everybody's GPA. So to do that, I would have to go in here and I would have to do the calculation, and I'm going to call my column as new GPA, right? So that's going to be my new field. Here, I would have to select I would have to find the current field, right? And what you can do is, look at this. I have a long list of fields, and I'm a little bit lazy to scroll through. What I can do here, I can just type it in, and it's going to find the field for me. Well, okay, I can do overall GPA, and then I select the plus, right? I want the plus, and here, what I can do is I can just enter the number, right? I'm just giving you an example. Right? Or, well, let's just close it. Let's just not do it. Okay. But if I actually went up and did it, I would have seen a new column added. Right? The reason I did not do it is because it may take a little while to run because of the bandwidth. But if I did actually click OK, I would have noticed another column in here, right? Adding a calculation is equivalent to adding a column. What I could also do is I could filter my data. To do that, I would need to click on my column header. And do you see the slider? I would have to just do this. If I do that, it means that I'm going to keep people whose GPA is in this range, right? This is what's going to happen. Oops. So this is how I define the filter. And now suppose that I change my mind. I want to select everybody who does not fall in this range. I just hit invert. Right? Then I change my mind again. I don't want any filter. I'm going to hit clear. Right? Okay. Now here, this is your friend. Suppose that you made a change and you're not happy with the change. You can click undo. Right? You can do it. Here is undo, here is redo. And now notice that there is a little asterisk next to the file name. It means that I've made some changes to my file. And I need to save it, right? I need to save everything to make sure that I didn't lose the work, and I hit save. Sometimes it could take a little time to run. Here is what not to do. Do not use the browser back button. Just forget that this button exists, all right? So you saw it took a little bit of time because it depends on the bandwidth. Now here, what else you see is the data quality scores, right? So if you may notice that if your column is numeric, the data quality score is more likely higher if your distribution is normal. Bell-shaped curve usually leads to the higher data quality score, right? Like here, it's very easy to see probably total class hours. On the other hand, I have another field that's medium quality score because you notice the skewness in the data, right? Another factor that may have an impact is the missing values. Missing values when the value is not specified. In this case, we don't have any, right? Now I still see that my data, I have it filtered, right? To remove the filter, I would click and go clear, right? What I could also do is I could do the data groups. Like to do this, for example, I click here, data group, and I can define the data group on numeric column or on categorical column. So suppose that I want to do a numeric column. So what I have to do is I would have to select, I would have to find my column, and let's see. For instance, revenue, right? I want to pick the revenue, and let me do this revenue range, right? There we go. So that's going to be my new field. It will be added all the way at the end, right? And by default, I'm dividing the data into 5 intervals and equal width. That means that the width of the bin is approximately equal, right? But there is no guarantee that you have the same number of observations in each range. So now look at it. Let me hit done, and let's just hope it does not hang. We'll close. There it is. Yes, it's here. Same thing as a calculation, right? If I create a calculation, it's going to add a new field, and it's going to add it to the end. So now I change my mind. I don't want this field to appear in my models, so I can go in here, and I can find it. I can find my field in here, and I just uncheck it, right? I can find it and uncheck. Here it is. There we go. It's gone. And now let me save it. And of course, it's going to take a little bit of time because of bandwidth, right? So something to keep in mind: if you don't have a high-speed internet connection, you want to make sure that you don't have another network user streaming videos at the same time. So now we are done. Okay, now here's the thing: I cannot use the browser back button. What can I use? When I click on a logo, it will take me to the landing page, right? Here, this is a menu, and it's gonna, everything that's listed here is the files that I have opened, right? Anything that I have listed over here is a list of files that I have opened. So if I wanted to go back, I will just need to click here. I don't need to use the browser back button, right? Very easy. But if you do use the back button, there is no guarantee about the results. Now, yeah, there is no guarantee, trust me. So now I need to make sure that I'm in a personal folder. Right, personal folder has data sets and all of the models that I have created, right? So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on the student retention data, and somehow Watson Analytics gives me the list of suggested exploration. Where does this come from? Secretly, when I uploaded this spreadsheet into the Watson Analytics was doing some processing for me. It was trying to identify the relationship between my variables for me. So I click here. See this? What drives the retention? That's what I want. And we're gonna click here. And it's going to build a spiral model for me. And behind the scene, it's creating a linear regression model, right? So it's going to list me the set of drivers, predictors, or a combination of predictors that drive the student retention rate. Basically, here, the retention, this is a target variable. Target variable is also called the dependent variable. So I want to predict my retention rate, right? And here, these are independent variables, the predictors. So for example, here, club membership and housing have 87% of the predictive strength, right? So it's going from top down. Apparently, housing, right, and the housing and overall GPA, those factors are significant drivers of the student retention rate, right? So this is one model. Now here, what I see on the right is, based on what I'm looking at right now, Watson Analytics is trying to see, Yelena might be interested in these explorations as well. So it's trying to give me a set of suggested explorations based on what I'm looking at the moment. So if you also notice here, you have a set of pins. Each pin corresponds to one of the drivers, and if I hover, I can see the predictive strengths, right? The closer I'm to the core, the stronger the predictor. So that's one model. Now, suppose that I'm interested to look at something else. What I'll do is I'm going to click here on the plus sign to add a new tab, right? And, it's not in here. I'm interested. I want to build my decision tree, right? But I want it for retention. It's not here. So let me do this. Let me try to type retention and hit enter. Let's see if it's going to do it. Here it is. Now I'm going to create my decision tree for the retention. Now here I'm going to have two options. I can see the decision rules and I can see the decision tree. So here, the first rule over here is telling me that if a person is living off campus and if a person is not a member of any clubs, and here basically is a profile of a person, and here it's saying me that those people are not retained. Well, let me explain it this way. There are 230 people, right? 230 observations in a data set who fall into this profile, right? The decision rules describe the profile of people who fall into this category, and 88% of 230 people who fall into this category are not retained. There are students who are not retained, right? And why do I know that it's not retained? Because, see, I selected not retained here. See, this is a drop-down, right? Retained and not retained. So now, here it is. That's the number of records, and there is another option here. I can check the percentages, right? So green color code stands for retained, and the blue stands not retained. Alternatively, I can swap. I can look at the retained, right? So here, this is a profile of people who are retained. We have about 1,065 people, and here they're living on campus, and they have they're a member of at least one club, and down there I have the GPA. That's another. So that's a combination. So basically my idea is when I have a new student, I want to use these profiles of existing students to predict if the student will be retained, so to speak, right? I want to predict the retention rate based on the data that I already analyzed. Let me look at the tree. So that's a tree model, and you'll need to play around. When you click on the node, you go into collapse, right? You can click to expand on collapse. To see the entire tree, you can click on this icon here that shows a picture of the whole tree, but it does not really look nice, right? So what you could do is you can zoom in, right? Then you can click on the node to collapse. I can just collapse because I want to see a section of the tree, and I can keep on zooming in and collapse just to get a section of the tree. Now here we have yes or no. So yes means the student is retained, or this is called a leaf node, right? Because there is no more variable to split on. Here is a root well, we have to go all the way. Over here is a root node, right? That's a root node here. And it's telling me that we have 6,203 people, right? Here is my first predictor. The first variable that's driving the retention is housing. Housing means if somebody lives on campus or off campus, right? So I have about 3 possible values. If somebody is a commuter, or if somebody is an on campus, so there are several options for the housing. So that's my first predictor, and based on a value, I take a certain branch, right? So let's collapse it. Oops. If I follow this path, my next factor is a GPA. So here it is. If the GPA is less than 2.91, more likely the student is not retained, right? What I could do is I could click here. Oh, okay. Usually when I click here, I can turn on and off because sometimes, oh, here it is. Now it's showing me the percentages, exactly what I want to see. I want to see the percentage of people who are retained and percentage of people who are not. So if I hover my mouse here, what I see is I see the number of students to whom this branch applies, right? So I have 243 students, and it's about the 4% of the total number of students. And out of those 243 students, 62 are retained and the 181 are not. And what I could do is I could traverse my tree all the way down to the leaf node. The leaf node means there is no more way to split, right? So that's basically how you read the tree. And if you have been using this application for a while, there is a new feature. When I click over here, analysis, here it's giving me the top predictors, right? It's showing me here that housing is probably has the highest predictive strength, and then comes the club membership. And if I scroll down, it tells me which variables are insignificant. And if it's a categorical variable, I get a confusion matrix. Basically, it's showing me how many students I predicted were not retained, but were actually retained, right? That's what it does. And then it's showing me how many students that were actually retained, but I predicted them as not retained, right? That's basically how I use it. And I can use this to determine the overall predictive accuracy. Notice that the numbers on the matrix diagonal, right? If you look at the matrix diagonal, those are the accurate prediction, right? So to get the percentage, I would have to take the sum on the diagonal and divide it by the total sum. That's how you get the classification accuracy, right? And here, what it's telling me is that it took some variables, such as GPA, and it did internal binning. This how it split. It was done, the method did it internally. Here, if you follow this branch, it means the person has GPA less than 2.91, and here is above 2.91, right? Now what I have to do is I have to save my work. There are two things you need to do. Is you need to save your workbook, and I hit save, and it's going to be in my personal, and I'm going to save it as retention prediction, right? Let's go ahead and hit save. So that saved my workbook, right? Now what else I could do is, the workbook has two tabs. I need to save which, I need to rename each tab, right? I hit rename. So here, let's just call it spiral. And here, I'm just going to call this, I'm just call it tree. But you would want to make it something descriptive, right? So I saved that, and I'm gonna have to hit save again. Okay. Now, if you may have noticed over here, this is called the data tray. So what I could do here is, I could define my filters. For instance, if I want to look at only citizens, right, I can just check citizen. It's going to update my model. It's going to update my model to reflect this change. But keep in mind that this change is applied only to this tab. It's not applied to the workbook as a whole, just only this tab, right? So now I change my mind, I hit clear, right? To go back to where I was. Or alternatively, I could just do undo. I can just do undo. Now what I have to do is I have to save, right? And let's exit this, and I want to make sure that I show you how to do the display. So now, to get back to the landing page, I have two options. I can click on the arrow to expand the menu, and I can select here IBM Watson Analytics, or I can just click on the logo, right? I can click on the logo. Now I want to create my display. To do that, I would have to select the display tab, right? And I just go here, and I click on new display, and I want to build the dashboard for right now. So what I'll do is I'm just gonna hit create, right? Oh, first of all, I have to enter the name, retention. Let's call it retention dashboard, right? So that, and I'm gonna hit create. There we go. So now what I have to do is I have to select my layout, And I'm going to select, let's select just single. And I'm going to explain you why later. So now what I can do, I have several options. I can create a new discovery, brand new from scratch, or I can add my existing models here. I can add my existing model. So to do that, I expand personal. So here, what I'm getting is this is a list of workbooks that I have in my personal area, right? You may remember they were listed on the Discovery tab. Here is what I just created. I just created the prediction. I just created the retention. If you may remember, I have two tabs. So what I need to do, I need to click here to expand. And now I select my model here, and I have to drag and drop into Canvas. Now pay attention. I want to hover over the error because I want to be able to control the size of my model, right? I don't want to resize it manually. Now take a look at this. Here is my decision tree that I created, right? Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a new tab, right? Single page, and I'm going to add my spiral model. So that's going to be my new workbook. This is a presentation, that's a retention dashboard. Now what I need to do is I need to save it and save. What I could also do here is that I can define the filters on my data, but here what you need to keep in mind is that there are two types of filter. I can define a filter that will apply to my two visualizations, to my two tabs, right? Or I can define a filter only on a single tab. See here, I have my tree in here, and suppose that I want to filter it by, if the person, see right now it's showing me, the model is showing me the different type of housing, off campus and on campus and so on, but I can go ahead and change it. To do that, I would click on the filters, and I'm going to find my variable, which is housing. And what I need to do is, I'll have to take that and I have to drag and drop right here. So I added my filter, but I don't see the change yet, because what I have to do is I have to define my filter. I go in here, right? And what I have to do, I have to edit filter values. And here, I can select what I want to keep, right? Let's suppose that I want to keep on campus and off campus. I want to keep just these two, right? So here, I define my filter, but the filter that I just defined will not apply to the second tab. It will only apply to the first tab. Why? Why? Anyone is paying attention? So basically what I did was here, see this? I have two tabs. I defined a filter on a housing variable, but the filter that I defined only applied to the first tab. It did not apply to the second tab. It's because I put it in this tab only, right? There are two types of filters. Alternatively, I can add another filter, and for example, suppose that I want to filter it by in or out of state. So I can drag and drop here, and now I can just do this, edit filter values, and I only want to see in-state students. And I'm going to apply. Now, what happened now? What did I just do? It affects both tabs, right? Because this is all tabs and this is the individual tab. So this is very important, especially if you do take the course free Watson Analytics course, there is a test at the end, right? So if you're data 610 students, a lot of the test questions were answered today. All right. So now what we're gonna do is we want to go back to the landing page, right? But okay, I'll show you what I'll be doing next. I'm going to be creating the storybook. I have two dashboards here. I have a student retention dashboard that I created today, and I have an academic failure dashboard that I created the other day. So now I want to do a presentation. I want to present the student retention, and I want to present the risk factors of academic failure. I want to do a single presentation. So do I want to tell my manager, look at this file first and look at the next file? Nope. My manager would probably want to open a single file, right? So what we're going to do right now, we are on display. I'm going to select new display, expert storybook. Now, very important, this is an add-on. This feature might not be available. It might not be available in a free version. You have to have the professional version to have access to this. Now, create. So this is a new storybook, and what I have to do here is that I have to enter a name. Storybook name is going to be, let's say, student survival. I just want to be creative, right? If I wanted to, I could add a picture, and I could add the description. Now what I'm going to do, see this? This is the first thumbnail. Here, what I need to keep in mind is that when my storybook is going to be in a view mode, whatever I put on the first thumbnail is going to be what the end user will see first. So here it is. The first thing that I want to see is that, let's find it. It's a retention, right? It's a student retention, what I did today. Retention something. Well, if I'm not sure, I could do the search, but apparently it's not an option at the moment. Okay, so let's start from academic failure since I found it first. What I could do is take a look at it. This is in my personal area, and this is a display. Take a look. Drag and drop, right? And what I could also do is I could add a thumbnail. I click here, and I can just pick any picture, right? I'm going to do this choose, right? So what I could do, I could keep on going. I could add another one. Let's see if we find it. So basically what it lists here is that it lists everything that I have access to. So that's the reason I see a lot of displays. It's because it's showing me everything that I'm able to access, right? So if you guys see this, the ones that we created today, I'll appreciate it. I should have named it differently. But anyway, let's just pretend that I'm going to add one of them, and let's just pretend that this is what I was looking for, right? See this? That's one reason we have to name it descriptively, right? Let's just do this. Oh yeah, that's it is. Retention dashboard, that's what I added. Right, and I can keep on going. Now, let's go ahead and save this, right? So, to save it, I would have to put, oh yeah, right here. See, that's a name, and I have to click here, save. It's saving, right? It saved it. For some reason, it saved it as a new storybook. It's my fault. You know why? Because when I created the storybook, I should have given it a more descriptive name. But not a big deal. Look at what I could do. I could close this. And now I can go to the display tab. Watch here. I go to the display. And now here I click on the ellipsis. And I have an option to rename. Now, I have to warn you about this here. The first option is to delete. But, question, if there is a recycle bin, what happens if I delete this? It's gone. Exactly. So usually if I do a slide, if I show how to delete, I put a picture of the recycle bin with the two line, double line, striking through it. So now I can just rename it, and let's rename it, let's call it student survival. Right? There we go. And I'm going to rename it. And now I can open it. But let's see what's going to happen when I open it. Oh, you may say, uh-oh, I cannot edit anymore. What happens? I just cannot edit it. So make sure that it's in the edit mode. See this? You can toggle view mode and edit mode, right? See this pencil? You can toggle between view mode and edit mode, right? So right now I'm back to the edit mode, and I can continue adding thumbnails to it. But let me switch back to view mode, preview. Now suppose that I'm going to be a manager for a while. I'm a manager. This presentation was created for me. So I can go in, right? And I can look at the findings, right? So notice that that's a reason. The reason I selected only one visualization per page today, because if I selected 4, all 4 would be displayed on the same page right here. See this? Every thumbnail corresponds to a dashboard. I have a dashboard that I created with 2 tabs, right? And I created it during the demo on Monday night. So this now became, see this? I have 2 tabs. It's because the dashboard that I created also has 2 tabs, right? What I could also do is I could add the annotations. When I was creating the storybook, I had an option to add my notes. It's because when my manager is looking into a storybook, I want them to see some description of what it's showing, right? Now, the reason I told you that it's important to pay attention to what I put on the first thumbnail and what I put on the second is because when I click this button here, it's going to take me to the second thumbnail. This is how I navigate, right? So this is what we created today, right? I just created this dashboard and it's here, right? So this is how you would use it. Now, as an end user, I can go back to the home page of this dashboard and suppose that I've been looking through it and now I have a different question. What can I do? There is something that I can do, and it's going to make this presentation endless. I'll show you what. I can click here, ask question, right? Take a look at this. And I can go ahead and I can perhaps look at the student cost per country. When I click on it, as soon as I click on it, it creates a new discovery. So now we're creating a new discovery. So what I could do is I could save it as a cost per country, right? I'm just saving this. And I'm going to hit save. So I got the new discovery. And of course, you can always play around with the colors, with the opacity, but I wanted to show you something that could be endless. So I finished this, right? I have cost per country. Now I'm going back to my landing page. I'm going to create a new display, right? Hit new display. And I'm going to say cost per county, something like that. Right? I did this. And I'm going to select dashboard and I'm going to hit create. And I'm still going to do one page. And now I'm going to go to personal area and I'm going to find this right here, right? I'm going to find this, I'm going to edit here, right? And I'll save it here, right? Save. And now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go back to my Storybook, right? And to do that, there is more than one way. You can just click on the landing page, display, and I can click here, here, student survival. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go into edit mode. Take a look at this. I can go into edit mode. I can scroll down, and I can add another display that I just created. There we go. So the reason I said it's endless because I can keep on going, can't I? If nobody stops me, I can keep on going. But I have some people here who's going to stop me. I get really excited. I like Watson Analytics. It's fun. So what we could just keep going just by switching this to the view mode and asking another question and then adding more and more and more and more. Right? But instead, I can show you what else we can do. We can get data from Twitter, can't we? So what we do is, let's get to the landing page, data, new data, here is at Twitter. And to do this, you would need to enter the search criteria. Like, for example, I'm going to enter giant story. Oops. And I want to see if I get anybody speaking about it, right? So let's see. Show estimate. We can display estimate while it hashtags. See, Elena made a mistake. I forgot to put the hash mark. There we go. So let's try it again. Before you run anything, you want to check the estimate, right? That's reasonable. Import. Processing. So what I meant here is that it's trying to identify the relationships in my data, right? It's trying to identify the relationship in my data. So that's one way to get data. Another way to get data is from the database, right? But secretly, you have to have an admin, right, to have the connection created. But you can do this. So here I have created a connection to the DashDB. That's another cloud. So you can click here, and it's one of the accounts, and that account will have a list of tables, and I can just select the table that I want to use. And here, one advantage is that you can reshape the data before you load it. This is only true if you upload the data from the database. You can shape data, you can make some changes to the data before you upload it, or you can just hit upload now, right? You can just select the table and hit upload now. Or you can do some changes, you can alter. But I'm not doing it because it's going to take forever. And now I'm just going to, I'll have to select the name of my data set from DashDB. Well, I'm just making it up, right? That's it. And it's going to add another data here. Now, notice that the icon identifies where the data came from. And here, again, I have the data quality score, right? So I can click. Let's see, I click on refine. And here, we're going to preview the data. So here, it's just showing me the date, the day, and it's showing me the author country and the author state, right? So what I could also do here is that if it cooperates, I can create a hierarchy on a country, right? So I can create a hierarchy. I call it location. So we want to go in here. That's going to be a new field, and I'm going to call it location. And I'm going to add the levels here, add the level, and what I want to do here is that I want to add a country, as a country, right? And then I want to add a second level, and I want to add the state. I want to do it like this, and I want to hit done. So what I did was I just created another field called location. Let me hide this. And I'll show you why I'm doing it. I'll explain to you why I'm doing it. Oops. So that's another field. I call it location. Yeah, it's taking some time to load, but the reason I'm doing it is this. Now I want to create another discovery, but first let me save this. Let me save this here. Saving. Now I'm going to create another discovery, and I'm going to do a map. That's a bonus for people who attended this presentation or watched the recording. Now it's saving. All right, so let's go to the discovery. Oops, discover. What I could do is I can just go discover and do new discovery, right? That's another way to do it. Or instead, I can just go in here, click here, and let's see if it's giving me an option to do the map. There we go. Okay. So here I want to do the number of authors by country. It's going to show me a map. Right. Here it is. So it's mostly United States. And what you could do is, if it works well, if it cooperates, in theory, you can drill down, right? So here, oh, that's nice. That's a new feature, too. They added, you can zoom in right now, right? So here it is. And I can click here. And usually, if I have authors, if the author state is known, I can drill down the hierarchy. Take a look at this. I click on the field property. What I could do is I can drill down. So now it's supposed to break my data by the state. So that's the whole purpose of the hierarchy. My first top level was a country. I created the hierarchy and I call it the country. My first level of the hierarchy was country, right? So when I click on the country, I have an option to drill down by the state, which is the second level of the hierarchy, right? So that's the whole purpose of creating a hierarchy. You can drill down. You saw what I just did, right? Alternatively, I can click back, and I can click on the ellipsis, and I can go up. So that will show me back by country. See this? That's basically to drill up and drill down. That's the whole purpose of the hierarchy. But I'm showing you this as a bonus because everybody has been paying undivided attention today. So here, let me just save this, and let me save this as giant post by country, post by state rather, right? Here we go, so save. And the hierarchy can have multiple levels, right? And I can do a lot of stuff with my Twitter data. I can do the time series, right? Can we do the number of posts over time, right? So we can click here, and we can do, oh, here it is. That's one of the examples. I have several examples. I can do my time series charts and so on, right? I'm just giving you some examples of what I can do. Or I can even do the custom visualization. I don't have to click on a question. This is what I could do. I could do the custom one. I can scroll down and I can select I can do the table. And now what I have to do is I have to pick my field and I can just drag and drop, right? I can for instance do the country. And here, I can just, in the middle, I can just say what I want to aggregate on, right? So I can pick the number of posts, or I can pick the post time. Well, I would have to pick a numeric field, right? And then it's going to show me the count. Let's just try this. Let's see, author tweet count. There we go. So what I just did was, I'm displaying the number of tweets by country, right? Yeah? So you can create nice table, and you can create cross-tab tables or grids, where you can have the variable in a column and a variable across the rows, all right? So you can do a variety of stuff, and we can keep going. That's going to be endless, but let's see what questions we have. I get really excited about this program, and I can just keep on going. Yes. Oh, excellent questions. To share the dashboard with others. We have several options here. Suppose that if you're on a personal edition, if you're not on an academic edition, take a look at this. And you can do it with display and with the dashboard. See this? You can click here. And there is an option to download the screenshot. You can download the images, and you can email images to yourself, right? And you can share it on Twitter. So there are several options. Now, but if you are enrolled in UMUC in one of the data analytics classes, there is a big plus. And I'll show you why. Well, let's save this first. If you are enrolled in a program, if you're using this Watson Analytics edition, academic edition, there is a folder here. It's called Shared, right? So what I usually do here, I set it up, and I have a session. I have a session for each course, right? So, and then within a session, we have groups. So basically, students who were enrolled in session 9041 of Data 610 course last semester, right? That folder was set up for them. And if they were members of Team 1, they'll have access to their group folder, right? So the way I would set up that faculty has access to everything in the session, and a student can access only to the folder they're a member of, right? That's how I usually set up. So, did that answer the question? For the PDF, the Storybook cannot be downloaded. The dashboard can. Oh, excellent question. Let's see. So we're going to go to the display. Let's see what happens, because it's giving you the options. Let me switch to my personal area here. So I'm here. I'm going into the display. Yes, there are several options. Excellent question. The option is PowerPoint, PDF, and image, I think. And the old version of Watson Analytics test had that question. Now they don't, but one of the earlier version of Watson Analytics course had that question in exam, which format you can download it in. But yes, when you click on share, when I click on download, yes, I have three options: image, PDF, and PowerPoint. Yeah. And also, when I click on image, I can select, I can choose. If my workbook has more than one visualization, I can choose if I want to download all of them or if I want to download some of them. Yeah. So did I answer the question? Now I have a question. What are the 3Ds of Watson Analytics? Excellent. Everybody gets an A+ for tonight. It's not going to count towards the course that you're currently taking, but it's great for tonight. Now, let's see if we have questions. I like questions. Yes, Isaac? Right.
Yeah, I was just curious about when you were doing the database connection.
Mhm.
Can you actually do SQL queries or joins between two
Yes.
different tables with
The
that
answer is
connection?
yes. Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yes, you can, because there is an option to reshape the data, and I believe you can. You can even do the joins. You can even do the joins if you go in there, right? I think yes, you can. And in fact, there is one of the, if you go to Watson Analytics YouTube channel, they show you the step-by-step how to join your data before you upload it. Yes, you can. The answer is yes, Isaac, yes. So if I go here, data, I would have to click on new data, right? And I currently set up the DB, right? So in theory, yes, you can, because this is the shape before, right? So I can pick something and I do shape before. And my understanding that yes, there is a way to do it, right? Yes, there is a way to do it. But since this is connected to one of my students' account, I'm not gonna be messing up with this data, because this connection is set up for, not for me, yeah. But in general, let me show you something. In general, as an admin, I can define, oops, I'll have to look in here, and it's in the account setting. As an admin, I can define the connection to variety of cloud databases. If I go to the new, see this is the option I have. Here is a list of options that I have, right? So I believe this is available in professional version. I'm not sure if it's possible in a free version, but if you are a student, it's a plus, right? You get more access, right? So, but in general, yes, you can set up. That's a list of options I have. Yeah. JSON files? Oh, that's a good question. I have not tried them, but we'll have to look. Oh, that's what we can do. Take a look at this. I click on a question mark, and now I can get into my documents, data, right? And from here, I can look at the pages. I can check which file formats are acceptable, right? So here, oh, it says it's giving you a lot of useful documentation. So here, I can just read through it and see it. If I have JSON, looks like it's not finding it, but what I'll have to do is I would have to look through all of this documentation and see if it's there. So here, the first tutorial is on a CSV. Yeah. But yes, I would have to look through it and find it. Yeah. Because basically the way, sometimes in order to get the question answered, we will have to look through the tutorial. See this, you can even do that from PayPal. Yeah. Or also, you could also add data from another cloud, such as applications from Bluemix, right, like DB. Yeah. But I'm not sure about the J. You have to look. I have to look. But here, if you look at the help, there is more than oh, here it is, maybe, no, data sources, and here, oh, it's just about the connection. But anyhow, what you could do is you would need to search. I would have to search and get back to you about it. Yeah. Yeah. But let's see if we have other questions.
Hi.
Yeah.
when you upload your information, does Watson understand the context of that information, or just read like categories, tables?
It understands the context because basically that's how I get the set of suggested discoveries.
Yeah.
Yes, that's basically how I get it, because it might be thinking, here it is. Yelena might be interested in seeing the risk factors of academic failure, for instance. How does it know? It's looking, it's analyzing the data. When it was saying processing, you saw that little globe spinning? That's what's happening, it's analyzing.
And with this information, it does just read English, or you can put a different language and it will try to
For right now, I think it's just English. For right now. And, yeah, very important. When we upload data from the CSV or Excel file, we need to make sure that our field names are descriptive. Because if I call it XYZ, what is this? No clue, right?
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Yes.
Is it possible to mine data from Facebook?
Oh, that's an excellent question. And I was thinking about submitting an enhancement request for it. Right now, it's just Twitter. It's just Twitter right now.
Only Twitter?
Yes. But I believe somebody may have submitted the enhancement request. Maybe one day they have it. Right? Well, because every week on Friday evening they do a maintenance window. At that time, the system is unavailable, but in the end, it pays back because they add new functionalities every Friday night. Some new features that I demonstrated today that weren't available a month ago, right? So hopefully it will be added soon. Yeah.
Hey, Yelena,
Yeah.
the Facebook search feature is available in the social media tool.
Oh, but
But
we
it's
don't
not-
have it.
Yeah,
They don't
they've
have
got
it.
it in that tool right now as a beta.
Right.
So it might get moved, or they might just encourage everybody to move
Yeah.
to social media.
Yeah, we don't have it at the moment. We don't have it at the moment. That's why. That's why. We don't have this. This is an add-on. The social media is an add-on. Watson Storybooks is an add-on. So we have Watson Storybooks available. We don't have this available at the moment, but hopefully we will. We never know. Right? So I guess that's a good reason to do another demo in the summer. We have a reason to be here. To see something new, right? Oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But it's yeah. Hmm?
Thinking about questions to clarify. As the presenter mentioned, what you need is good quality of internet. And why is this? You will say, oh, these are special requirements. Well, think about this is a software which is not installed in your computer. The only you log into the cloud, and the only power you need in your computer is to stream data up and down to the cloud. So that's why it's very important. And of course, even with not very good internet, it's going to work, but it's going to take longer. And if you have kids and teenagers in your home and everyone is sitting bantering, most probably you're not going to be able to do this in reasonable time. So this is the beauty of all this software in the cloud. It's very easy to use. You don't have to install anything. You just go to the browser with your login information to that specific service or platform, and you get there and you use it. Think about only the internet is an issue. So if something doesn't work, check around your home.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless it's 8 p.m. through 12 a.m. on Fridays, this is a maintenance window.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have one more last comment. Yeah, I've been looking at it, an overview of the whole thing.
Oh,
And what I'd imagined is to have a facility of social media. And now under social media, you can select Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, Telegram. Now from there again, you can link it to a group, let's say a Telegram group or a WhatsApp group. I'm asleep and people are chatting on WhatsApp, maybe 1,000 or 250 from different parts of the from different continents, and I'm asleep. And when I wake up, when I connect it to this, and when I wake up, I'm able to get some analysis.
Well,
so,
but you.
So that was my expectation, and that's the motivation of coming.
Well,
so, yeah. Okay.
If you collect the data from Twitter, there is an option to the reload. Like, let me show you something here. I'm not going to do this because I don't want to take the bandwidth, right? So I realize people are doing something at the same time as I'm showing, but this is a Twitter data. Take a look at this here. This is what it is, replace. So I can rerun the data on the same criteria. Yeah. See this? Reuse previous selection. So I can use the same criteria as I did before and re-import. That would replace the data that I had with the new one. With the new. You can do it. I'm not going to do it because I see that some people in the audience are trying to use the application. I don't want to take a lot of bandwidth, right? Well, another option you have, yes, Yeah, go ahead.
Another question. When you connect your database to the system, can you do like automatic report, like every week or every end of the month, the system you will just generate the report for you, or you have to go every time and do the connection again?
Oh, to set up the connection?
Yeah, because
I configure it.
You did a database connection there.
Right.
So if the connection stay open, it does the program. Can you set up to?
Oh, to refresh? No.
No.
It's not done yet. The question is, I created the data set, right, and I pulled the data from the database, right? And the question is, if the data set will be synchronized with the database? No, it's not.
No, you have to.
It's not synchronized. Any changes made to the database after I imported the data, they're not going to be reflected in the imported data set. It's not synchronized.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
One question here. How does Watson treat unstructured data? Can it identify patterns within, let's say, open-ended responses to a survey?
Excellent question. For Watson Analytics, all data needs to be structured. It has to be in a tabular format. But they're going to be a similar add-on. I don't remember the name of the program, maybe DataWatch something, where you can upload the unstructured data and do some pre-processing. I don't remember the exact name of the add-on, but Watson Analytics only structured data. It has to be in a tabular format, spreadsheet. And if you're uploading data from Excel, it cannot have the total subtotals. It cannot have the total subtotals. Yes.
Does Watson Analytics have a scripting language where you can write your own scripts for some of the common tasks?
Excellent questions. We cannot write a script here. Nope. It's not an open source software. No programming and, well, it's like good news, no programming. Bad news, no programming. right? More questions?
Regarding the question about unstructured data, of course, some unstructured data, if you can convert them in a table, there are some text data you can convert in a table, you still can process with Watson Analytics, but it's not the true purpose of unstructured data to find insights, for instance, in free text, which is natural language, English. For these, they are other products, including the Watson Cognitive Computer, which is exactly this support. This is totally different, let's say, totally different product. And now it's offered also as a service in the cloud. Students in Master of Science in Data Analytics, they have access to this software, and they are able to explore different, let's say, Watson Cognitive is the computer which in 2011 won the Jeopardy game against. That was the selling point of the proof of concept of IBM, and then they landed different applications. Of course, this is, let's say, totally different paradigmatic of the computer, totally different computer, which is based in understanding English natural language. It starts, the starting point with this, and to find insight in the way we communicate and infer solution, answer, etc., etc., etc. So right now, they are not expensive offering of Watson Cognitive, because in the beginning this was quite expensive, let's say, computer, the cognitive one. Now they are inexpensive services, offer it as a services in the cloud, and you can at least get and explore them for free for 30 days. Or, if you are a student in Master of Science in Data Analytics, you can get 6-month access, and again 6 months, and again 6 months. That's the status. Just you sign up for Bloomix 30 days free. Just search Bloomix. This is the platform, the IBM platform, and they offer at least at this point, I don't remember, but at least 9 different services of Watson Cognitive. In 30 days, you can do a lot of proof, you know. They are giving this 30 days free to anyone. You don't have to be a student, as a proof of concept. And of course, if you are business, you put then after that credit cards and you use it the way you are going to use it, streaming this service. If you are student, we are doing a lot of projects here in the program, and we are giving to our student access. But the truly unstructured, this very close to the way we are thinking and inferring answer, is the Watson Cognitive. This is more, let's say, like the traditional, this is, let's say, Watson Analytics, some people are confused because they use the same name. I don't know why they did this. For me also it's confusing. Even start talking to the students from time to time, I get confusing. I'm talking to them about Watson Cognitive, and I'm saying Watson Analytics. It's totally two different products. Because if you are familiar with different software packages, statistical packages like SPSS or SAS, Watson is this part of the statistical packages, but different way to communicate with the package. You don't get direct access to the, let's say, to the command or the routine to do whatever machine learning or statistical programming. Is everything behind the scene in very business analytic way to use, let's say, if you are going to explore your data, this is the first tool you can use. You don't know what is going on behind the scene. You understand. You just use the tool very seamlessly. You drag, you create the dashboard. This is the first, let's say, the most general analytics you can use. Closely what we are naming business analytics. and it has something of this natural way, because you see natural language processing, because you see the question. The question can be generated in English. You type the question in English. You don't have to do this different. So it has something from this conception of Watson, cognitive, but just this part. It's totally different merge of idea to solve totally different problem in business analytics.
This is a very useful resource, Watson Analytics forums. Sometimes you might be working on something and you have a question, right? There's a chance that someone else already asked this question. So you can look this up, and actually, I find this really helpful. Sometimes I'm just looking through this, just to learn what questions people ask and what the answers are. It's really helpful. Yeah. Like, see this visualization not showing up when I try to share them. Suppose that I have the same problem and somebody already posted the question. I can just click in and I want to see how another user attempted to solve the problem. And sometimes I try and it works. Some of the issues, some of the technical issues are already solved in a discussion. And I can post my new question. Maybe somebody already solved this issue. Yeah. So I was just showing you the discussion forums, and there is the general resources page. So, but you want to make sure you select the Watson Analytics. And there is a resources page where you have a bunch of use cases, and you have a bunch of videos, and blogs, and tutorials, and even more. So, and even the documentation itself is really rich, because when you go back to, see this, you have this question mark, right? And you may open documentation from any page. And inside the documentation, you even see the videos, right? See Discover, and I want to know how to create my model. I can just browse through and I can watch this video. That's a really good way to learn, right? You watch the video, you try it yourself. Yeah. Let's see what questions we have. All right. Then I need to ask you a question. What type of displays do we have? I showed you two types of displays tonight. What did I do? How can we present the data with the customer? What types of displays do we have? Excellent. Excellent. Well, when there are no questions, I have to ask questions. Right? Any more questions? Now, next question. What are some examples of visualization we covered tonight? Three? Excellent. Anything else? Tables, right? Is there anything that I did not cover? Well, I didn't really cover social media since at the moment I don't have access to it, but we covered Twitter, right? Questions? Oh, and yes, if you're going to take Watson Analytics course, this is what you would need to remember. Another thing, there are three ways that you can ask questions to explore data. You can go on this data tab and you can type your question here. I just type something and I click enter. And what it's going to do, what Watson Analytics is going to do is it's going to analyze all data sets that I have access to and try to find the visualizations for me. I can type my question here on the data page. Ultimately, I can do the same thing on the discover page and enter my question. If I do this, Watson Analytics will search all data sets that I have access to. Alternatively, if I go here and if I click on my data set and enter question here, it will only search the data that I just opened. Very important. Right? 3 ways to type the question. The first 2 ways that I showed you, it will search all data sets you have access to, and the last way that I showed you is only the data that you have just opened. Right? How many of you are enrolled in Data 610 right now? Oh, excellent. So you've got some of the questions answered, right? But don't tell your classmates what the questions are, because that's the price you get for being here today, right? Anything else? Anywhere? Yes.
I'm not doing data science in school. I'm doing software.
Mm-hmm.
If there is any class that we can take or any workshop that you are planning that we can attend, as not as part of the career or the master, but besides that, like these kind of activities or anything similar?
Data science and software engineering, they have a merging point, right? You cannot separate them totally. So, in the realm of data science, we are having session like this we had before, and we are planning to have is Python for data science. So, and you understand that many applications in data science are programmed in Python, so maybe this would be a point of interest for software engineers. And also, many of the, let's say, programming tasks of the data scientists, we are using R and Python just in the specific topic of getting insight machine learning from data. That is the, let's say, the subject in which we move this method. But I can see some point of contact which you make.
More questions? That's a very good opportunity to ask questions. No more? What's my name? When there are no questions, I take turn to ask them. Ah, uh-huh. Oh. Oh, the real, basically the dashboard. You mean the display? Display has the 2 modes, view mode and the edit mode. So what? Yes, you can use it. Oh, if they're not Watson Analytics users, no. Well, yes and no, because there is an option to publish the storybook. There is an option to publish, but you need to have a Bluemix account to do that. And they need to have access, special access to access them. Because, yeah, there are a lot of examples of storybooks. Look at this. I click here, Analytics Exchange page. It has sample storybooks, and I can even import them into my personal area. I can import the storybook. It's taken some time to load, but Analytics Exchange page has sample storybooks that you can import and preview. But to share it, the person in question needs to have an account, unfortunately. Or somebody has to have this nice projector set up. Schedule a meeting. Yeah. So do we have more questions? See, it's taking some time to load. Well, let me not take people's bandwidth and just go back. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Everyone here for attending, and hope you get something useful in your back leaving this meeting. Okay? Have a wonderful evening. And until the next one, we are announcing everything in our meetup place. And if you already sign up one, you will most probably will be receiving the invite for the next one. And also, I would like to thank people online. They were very patient with some ups and downs, but hope they got at least something.